Okay.
Visual approach landing in the party warming 35.
Clear it.
What we're seeing is a lot of loss to homes and communities under these extreme weather events, like we experienced all across the West on Labor Day. No amount of public lands management or private lands management in the wildlands is going to prevent that from burning. And in many cases, we're seeing it may have exacerbated that condition. And we ideally could see this from the air today or in the future to really get a sense of whether that's the case.
Where are we heading and what do you expect to see?
Well, we're heading down to the Holiday Farm Fire that burned along the McKenzie River. And what's burned in that is, I think, 70% private, 65% of that being private industrial forest. We did an investigation in the Douglas Creek Complex fire of 2013 where we were looking at a checkerboard landscape of private industrial and public-owned lands. And what we found was that the private lands did burn more severely. The fuel structure and the structure of those forests being even-age plantations, very uniform fuel beds, increase the severity as well. I can see private industrial forest lands, I believe, or at least clear cuts. And so there's really intensive forest management intermixed with, being close proximity to the H.J. Andrews that has a mix of old growth forests. And this fire clearly aimed to Blue River as a running crown fire. See that with all of the boss crowns, the black sticks all across this landscape. Pretty intense. When you're talking about crown-to-crown ignition, the size of the tree is going to largely be irrelevant at that point. It does not do justice from the ground, what I could see. We were standing in Blue River and I could not see that scale. It's really impressive. These type of events are not unprecedented in any way in the Western Cascades or even our Coast Range. These have been documented in fire history studies. Fires like the Silverton Fire of 1865 that burned 988,000 acres in a similar landscape that we're talking about flying over right now. I see a lot of management and a lot of mortality and a community lost. I think it's pretty clear that this level of intensive management didn't aid the community in any way. I think about fire risk daily, and this still surprised me. I'm still trying to sort of reformulate how I think about fire risk because of these events.
Yeah.
The closer a fire ignition is to the proximity of a community, the more likely it is to impact that. Common sense. But that means that, with the proximity of all these managed lands, that they are going to be contributors to fire risk of community. We think we can live adjacent to these dry forest environments safely, despite what we're observing today. And the reality is, with this changing climate in our past management, is that is not the case. Homes ignite because of ember showers. If that's what's driving the ignition of your homes, then really the receptor side, the home ignition zone as it's referred to, needs to be managed effectively to protect those structures from being lost. And so there's this real significant need for communities to invest in their own protection.